Welcome. Welcome. If your name is Phil Taggart, Mary Kay Rummel, Luz Maria Espinosa, Sean Coletti, B.D. Salvas, Diane Sousa, or Laurent Bosselar, please make your way to the stage. I'm just being formal as a joke, so come on up, you guys. Thank you. Thank you. Sean is here to assist anyone who may need it. Wonderful. Welcome. I'm so grateful to have this crowd. I'm so grateful to have all of these incredible literary artists in this space shared. Wow. Thank you. All of those who are literary art appreciators, bless you. Even more so than the literary artists. Thank you for loving literary art. And thank you for being here today. I also want to, I kind of let you know about the housekeeping thing as far as the restrooms being in the museum lobby. Please feel free to exit the back door anytime you might need to. Right now, we only have the liquid refreshments out, but at the conclusion, we will bring out the other refreshments, the yum stuff. So, I have some wonderful human beings up here, and you kind of heard their names, and you may already have the recognition, but some folks are going to be speaking. My name is Friday Gretchen Truer. Thank you. In addition to working here at the Museum of Ventura County, which I do, and tomorrow is my 7-year anniversary here. Thank you. The space and these people are amazing. What they do is awesome. Come back and see us if you're not able to stick around today. They're also, just going to put this up here now, we have a new exhibit that's going to be entering that's about beauty, women's portraiture, and art. We will be having an ekphrastic reading that will involve all of the laureates, poet, from our county, plus a couple other folks who are up here on the stage. And of course, Marcia De La O and Sean Coletti will be the others. But there will be an event coming up in April, so I'll let you know more about that afterward. Okay. At some halfway point also, maybe I'll have everybody stand up and maybe move your body a little bit, just to be happy. We have some dignitaries here, and I think Tim has a list for me. Tim Rummel has a list, perhaps. Yay. Thank you, Tim. Bless your cotton socks. I'll meet you. That could have been so much more dramatic. So I want to thank several people who are here today. Representing Congresswoman Julia Brownlee, Giselle Camarena Ramirez, if you'll wave your hand. Thank you for being here. We love Julia. Also, where is David? David Yoshitomi, who is manager of Ventura County Arts and Culture, Ventura County Arts and Culture manager. We have Mayor Pedro Chavez. Pedro is mayor from Santa Paula. Liz Campos, raise your hand. This is our Ventura City Council person. Also, Elaine Litzter, City of Simi Valley. There we go. There we are. Thank you. Nice to see you. Thank you for being here. And do we have anyone, Ventura supervisor for Vianney Lopez? If not, that's okay. Bless you. I recognize that there's a lot happening in the world out there, and we're here today to spread some joy. That's something we are able to do as poets, and we do. We need that. We need a little joy. So, without further ado, here we go. I'm going to give you a little bit of a brief history about the Poet Laureateship of Ventura County. There are a lot of cities that have laureates. There are a lot of counties that do as well, and states, of course. And then, of course, we have a national Poet Laureate. But we have a county-wide Poet Laureate, which is, we are a big county. We're a very large county, and there are a lot of wonderful poets in this county. So we developed this plan back in 2012 that we really wanted a Poet Laureate. We worked with the Ventura County Arts Council and, of course, our county supervisors to make it so. We also had some literary treasures that we honored, people who were octogenarian and late octogenarian and not necessarily wanting the role of laureate. We called them literary treasures, and we honored several of them. At the back of the room, at the conclusion of this event, you are going to find some giveaways. One of those is called Defying Gravity, and that was a collection of those first literary treasures. So you're going to have to grab one on your way out. We're going to have several free art books and literary books for you to grab. People who are up here have made contributions, so make sure you check that out on your way out. Here we are. So I'm going to end up standing and sitting a little bit. All of us are going to do a little bit of that. The first person that I wanted to invite up to the stage to talk a little bit about arts and culture and poetry in our county is David Yoshitomi. David.
Thank you very much, Friday. Oops. So as Friday mentioned, my name is David Yoshitomi, and I'm the Arts and Culture Manager for the County of Ventura, and I'm very pleased and happy to be here and honored to have a moment to say a few words here. I wanted to begin really just by thanking the Ventura County Arts Council for spearheading and keeping this tradition alive, and I'm going to talk about the importance of a Poet Laureate program for the county in just a moment here, but I think it's very important. I also want to thank the Nomination and Selection Committee for taking the initiative to not only do the call for nominations, but then to also go through the difficult process of selecting the Poet Laureate for this year. I'm sure that there were many esteemed nominations, and it was, although apparent once the decision was made, I'm sure it was a very difficult process. So thank you very much. And I also want to thank the Poet Laureates that are here today, Luzma, Mary Kay, and Phil, and just want to thank you for your past work as Poet Laureates here in our county. And Mary Kay, I've not met you, but Phil and Luzma, I've worked with you both, and it's really been an honor to have that opportunity to work with you and to help you do your work as Poet Laureates here for our county here. And I want to say congratulations to Mary Ann and welcome her as the new incoming Poet Laureate here, and I'm sure there'll be a lot more to talk about in a moment. But really, congratulations, and I look forward to working with you here at the county level here and all of your good work. So welcome and congratulations here. I was thinking about the importance of why do counties have a Poet Laureate here? And the first is to celebrate our great county. Our Poet Laureate captures the stories, the landscapes, and spirits of Ventura County, bringing people together through shared experiences. And I think that that's really important right now, especially as we're living in an increasingly isolated and fragmented online world. But the poets have the ability to go out there, to learn our stories, and share not only their own stories, but all of our stories in a way that speaks to us in a way that that brings us together and creates that shared experience and help us define what it means to be a Ventura County resident. So that's the first reason. I think, secondly, and this is an important one, is just inspiring local creativity. It's not about everybody being a poet here and everybody trying to achieve a publication, but really about just supporting the creative spirit. And Poet Laureates do that in our libraries, at our community events, not only through readings, but by creating classes, sharing their work, and just otherwise having a presence here and elevating the arts in all their different different ways through the power of literary works. So that's another reason here. And last, and I recognize this by working with LUSMA here, but it's really about preserving Ventura's County's heritage. And it's highlighting the history and culture and showing why arts and culture are vital to our region's identity and nature. And LUSMA did a fantastic poem about growing up in Ventura County. And I think that's representative of so many of the great works that are coming out of many of our poets here, and the importance of not only having a poet laureate, but having that title and that position change hands so that different artists can be a part of it and to help us all nurture our creative spirit and share what it means to be living and growing up, raised, moving to whatever that Ventura County experience is, to have that captured in words here. So I wanted to keep this brief because there's a lot of expert wordsmiths and poets here in the room, and I'm sure we want to hear from them. But I want to close by a poet from Allen Ginsberg, or a quote from him that said, "Poetry is one place where people can speak their original human mind. It is an outlet for people to say in public what is known in private." And it seems that we are always in uncertain times, whether it's going to be a changing world or natural disasters. I think it's ever important for us to speak, us humans, to speak our mind, and speaking truth, no matter how uncomfortable that may be. So thank you.
Well said, David. Exactly. We're in agreement. Yay. All right. Next, I'm going to bring up the human who nominated our new poet laureate, Marianne McFadden, who had experience as a poet laureate, and perhaps he will share some of that experience with you. I'm inviting up right now Phil Taggart. Phil.
But first, one of my students just walked in late, so you're working with Scarlett right there, who's taking pictures. It's nice teaching. You can give extra credit for doing stuff. You know, one of the things that I'm really excited about working with Marianne McFadden is that we had a discussion a few weeks ago, and what we were talking about was hope. Hope. And it's something that as we're looking at the horrible fires that are going down in LA and the horrible fires we've had here, and of course the political insanity that there is, hope is something that we really need to work on. And I think Marianne is the perfect choice for that. Okay, where's the yeah, she's a wonderful poet, and you will hear that at some point. Hopefully you show up. She represents growing up in Ventura County, both in Simi Valley and in Fillmore. I get to say this only once. She's a Fillmore Flash. She's also is able to represent our agricultural heritage, which we're an agricultural county. And so, and she's part of that citrus farm, et cetera, all the stuff that has happened, all the things that made Ventura County what it is now is our ag. And so she can represent that. And I think, and she's a teacher, and she can be a teacher at all times. She's taught university level, and she's taught in the libraries, and she's taught in New York. And I think we're in for a very, very good representation and a good look and hope for Ventura County. And now I'm going to say something about a little history of the Ventura Poetry Laureate. We started this, like we said, in 2012, and what we decided is we didn't know if we could work together because there had never been anything like this in Ventura County before. And so what we were talking about, we did a couple of things. We did the Laureate Lollapalooza at Art City, which was a lot of fun. Those laureates from around the state showed up for it. And they showed up, and then we did something called Honor Our Treasures. As Friday was saying, several women that we're they're octogenarians, and we had even started the Poet Laureate bit before, so we wanted to honor them because poetry is one of those art forms that it's an oral tradition that is passed down. And so the lineage is actually important. And so we wanted to honor them because we love them on top of that. So I was thinking about what I can read. I'm not going to read one of my poems. I'm going to read one of theirs. And I was looking at this Defying Gravity, which there are a couple of places back there, and I figured, what can I cover? And I thought, I was looking at Polly B's. She wrote this really wonderful piece called Killing Facebook several years ago, and it was a great piece, and it's back there. And of course, Eleanor McNaughton in her beautiful, optimistic Midwest voice that ended up in Oxnard, and she was talking about what it was like, what must it have been like to be Shigel's mother, which is a great poem. And then, of course, then there was Doris Vernon, who had this great poem about drawing happy faces on her breasts after the mastectomy, double mastectomy. And these are great poets that could have been Poet Laureate. But I settled on Joyce Lemaire's because, well, I like Joyce Lemaire's too. And she was quite something. She was worked in the 60s in the ads industry. If you look at that Mad Men series, she wasn't a secretary, but she was there. And so she had to push as a woman to be there. So this is her poem, The First Time. Being first implies a sequence, a dull parade of sameness that find distinction only in their order. But time reels past in moments strung like laundry, each one uniquely pinned into its place along the line, fanned by its private breeze, immune to repetition. Nothing happens twice. Not love, not breath, not waves that lap ashore. Always it is the first time and the last. Joyce Lemaire's. One thing more I want to say about Marianne McFadden, she's a badass.
Heard, understood, agreed. Yeah. Next up, I'm inviting up Laurent Bosselar. Laurent is Poet Laureate from Santa Barbara. Come on up.
Thank you, Phil. Thank you for being here. You know, if we need something in times of challenge, let's say, it's poets and people who love poetry and who let poets say what they actually feel and could write also. We're all poets. I mean, from the minute we're born, we are poets. So thank you, Phil, and thank you, Marcia, for asking me to talk and say a few words about my friend, the poet, teacher, Marianne McFadden, who, as of today, is the warmly celebrated, applauded, and most welcome fourth Poet Laureate of Ventura County. Marianne grew up 25 miles away from here in Fillmore, California. I could briefly describe to you how her family history is closely connected to Ventura County, but she does it so much better than I. So let me quote lines of her first poetry collection called The Eye of the Blackbird, which reads like a fascinating imagery and emotion-rich memoir in verse. California. My great-grandfathers traveled west in covered wagons, sailed round the Horn in clipper ships, built railroads, sounded the depths of Balboa Bay, sank a pier, shipped redwoods from the north down to the flat, water-starved plains. Marianne's father lost his life in France in World War II. Her mother remarried, and her stepfather, so long ago, developed organic growing methods on a citrus ranch in Fillmore. Tragically, Marianne's mom was ultimately devastated by mental illness. There are poignant poems about this in her first book, Eye of the Blackbird, in which the speaker, growing up, faces the frightening legacy of death and madness. And I quote, "With her arm raised, with the voice of God jerking the tendons of her neck, with the butcher knife gleaming in the kitchen sky, like Abraham, my mother will change the world." The knife clatters to the floor this time, and she is gently disarmed, taken back to bed. But because her grandfather and mother were born in Mexico, Marianne was also blessed with a lot of Spanish around the kitchen table and felt that her family was Mexican also, that was part of her heritage. She lived and taught nearly 15 years in Mazatlan and San Miguel de Allende. Her second book, Devil Deer, is largely set in those landscapes. I'm going to quote, "Every other life seems smalls to me now. Shelves I've struggled out of, parched along the trail to this last place. Here I'll rest a while. Here I'll make a garden that I'll watch grow. Here the bats circle at night. Lizards live on the wall, and they sing. They really sing." The book Devil Deer is also rich and alive with deep and ardent poems of love. And I can't resist quoting these lines to you. "I wake up and put my head in the space between your breasts. Nowhere so soft, nothing so fine, and warm skin underneath the shirt you have on. You let me stay. God bless me." And a little further in her long sequence poem entitled Marriage, we discover one of the many delightfully witty sides of Marianne's poetry. "The great barge of you beached on my side of the bed. Lover, damn it, it's my turn to sleep in. I like your company, but sometimes I swear." And here I'll skip a few lines and continue. "The world's going to hell, and I'm getting older. You're lying there solid as the hills, and I'm trying to turn in my narrow row. Sweetheart, I do want you here, but sometimes I want you smaller." There's a recognizable authority in Marianne Fadden's work, but it is one of profoundly intelligent, feminine wisdom. Her poems are tender, at times erotic, whimsical, and even jocund, and all these tonal varieties keep on blooming in her new manuscript entitled Rosa Mundi, full of poems about aging and nature and love and erotic celebrations and marriage and animals and the opera and more. How I hope it will come out during her tenure. Marianne has received many accolades, including, okay, I'm going to tell you something. I didn't write that, but I want you to know that because it's sweet. Including the Four-Way Books Intro Prize in 1995, for which I was also a finalist, but she won. And I celebrated that, and I'm proud that you did win that. So, and also a MacDowell Fellowship in 2010. She taught at Brooklyn College, at CUNY, at the New York City Libraries, and the Biblioteca de San Miguel. Marianne and her companion now live on a citrus ranch near Fillmore. She has a writing shed a few hundred yards into the groves. And I don't think there are many poets who, like her, must remain alert and careful not to disturb rattlesnake or scorpions on their way to write. Ladies and gentlemen, I ask you to applaud with me the writer, the friend, the teacher, the nature lover, the insightful and blazingly honest Poet Laureate of Ventura County, Marianne McFadden.
Thank you for that. That was wonderful. Thank you, Laurent. I also want to say thank you to, from the city of Fillmore, Mayor Cristina Villaseñor is here now. Had another event. Thank you, Cristina, right over here. Thank you. Thank you, thank you. All right. Wonderful. Next up, I want to invite another laureate who drove down from San Luis Obispo. This one's name is Diane Sousa. Please welcome Diane.
Thank you. I'm thrilled to be here to celebrate you, Marianne. You so deserve it. I first heard Marianne read in Los Osos. I was enraptured by the earth-rooted imagery and truth of her poems. She was staying with a mutual friend, so I knew I'd have to talk to her after the reading. I find it terrifying to speak to artists who provide rapture, to whom I am a true fan. All I could think of was, Diane, don't fawn like a lunatic, don't spaz out. I must have held it together because since then I've had more relaxed opportunities to experience and benefit from her poetic wisdom, deep intelligence, great humor, and generosity. I have had the most unexpected and lovely opportunity to call her friend. Congratulations, Marianne. Marcia and Phil suggested I read this poem, and I will. It's dedicated to you. It's called Party Dress. It's a lucid dream. It's the final section of a 3-part poem tracing the arc of womanhood from maiden to crone, all of us trapped in the sociopathic frat party of murderous capitalism. It is women, Marianne, with a strong voice like yours, risen with the song of Mother Earth, who will free us. Party dress, lucid dream. I wake with a magic marker and a megaphone under my pillow. Mama, I finally escaped the party. I had been there so long, I started to get old. The party planners do not tolerate old. If they even say the word, it always comes in the context of a threat. If you get too old for our dress, which is your fault, we will sew you into a frilly cowsuit and milk at you till you die. But the party planners, always obscene in their influence or arrogance, finally made a mistake. They passed me a tray of puff pastries stuffed with goat cheese and trazodone. I was making too much noise. They wanted me to fall down or fall asleep and finally be quiet. This was their error. I ate 10 trazodone puffs and made myself throw up in the top drawer of a fake gilded antique desk. They did not like this. But they were out of frilly cowsuits, so they stripped me of my new and now filthy dress and threw me in the parking lot. Then they changed the music and locked the doors. I tried to take a deep breath. I crawled through their neighborhood until I found the one stump of tree still standing. I brushed my hand over the tree's once wild rings. I released my breath so small at first, nothing more than a gnat of air. But then it grew larger. Then it grew, furious, a scream, a word, a voice, a woman. Congratulations, Marianne. Love that you are.
Thank you, Diane. This is how this becomes a fun event, when poets share their work. Yay. All right, next I would like to invite up our first poet laureate, who had two terms. Who had one term. I don't know why I mentioned that. Mary Kay Rummel. Mary Kay. Can we see Mary Kay?
Barely. I'll stand on my toes. Yes, well.
It's just a little, and it's lovely.
Okay.
Solid and stable and make me feel better.
Luz might need that too. All right.
Now you can see her.
Okay. Wow. I never get to stand like that. I never get this view looking down. All right. So congratulations, Marianne McFadden. And it's so fortunate for poetry that you returned to Ventura County and bringing your world with you, the wide world, and in writing and in teaching and in community work. I think it's just great energy. I found that as Ventura County Poet Laureate that the position, it opens up so many experiences in the community, different experiences from what I had, and it enriched me, and I think you'll find the same way. It's very enriching. And but I'm going to just read. I want to read a poem. Phil talked about the treasures, the literary treasures, and mentioned Doris Vernon. And I just love this poem that she read when during my inauguration. I've always remembered it. So have a bunch of other people that they say, "Oh, I remember that poem." Okay. Laurie the lion at the local zoo often ate poets. It could happen to you. A poet we know met that fate. Laurie ate her. Now she's poet laureate. So, Marianne, will that be your fate? I think that'll probably be part of the program forever, that poem. And I'm going to, I would like to read, I think the gift that poets give to all of us is the gift of attention. Paying attention, teaching all of us who are poets, or not everybody, how to see and hear and touch in the world, and in attention to what's inside and attention to what's outside. It's like taking a deep breath and being there. And so I want to read the part of a poem that she has in her book, Devil Deer. The poem is called Faith in Nights, but I love it, the beginning of it, because it gives me this picture of the poet setting where you have to be, to pay attention. And so you can imagine her sitting and writing this. Faith in Nights. In this hearing of quiet drums and quiet piano, hushed marimba, tin pan, furnace whistling off and on in a flush of air, air withdrawn, jazz dance and stumbling down the stairs, bicycles and wood fires, blessed naps and imaginary bears. She sits down at her desk and begins to play the keys of another music. The beat of her heart is strong and sure. Her socks wave like wind flags over an old airport. So it's a beautiful, I love that poem because I just see the poet. So I'm going to introduce Luzma Espinoza, who was the third poet laureate. And Luz?
Good girl.
Okay.
Well, first and foremost, to Marianne McFadden, congratulations. It was really nice to know that you and I have both shared San Miguel de Allende, that we both lived in Mexico, and we have a lot of things in common. So, congratulations to you. And thank you for inviting me to be here. Good afternoon, everybody. Well, what I can say is that as a fourth grader, I told my teacher I wanted to be a writer. And my teacher kind of laughed at me. And didn't get a lot of encouragement. But somehow or other, I'm not an author, but I write. And I was asked to do a workshop for women dealing with mental health issues. And how I deal with things in writing. So this poem that I'm going to read deals with that. It's called Sleep, Poetry, and Writing. And everybody, you all know, writing allows us to see ourselves as well. Sleep has been frightened away. Mind excursions keep rest at bay. Stars are twinkling, singing songs, smiling brightly where I lay, dancing with my heart to the beating of the big drum. Spring from bed to empty the mind. Poetry is rhythm. It is rhyme. It is free verse traveling through time, reconciling untold stories of each epoch in our life. Stories released from our hearts, vacating the mind from thoughts so as to sleep soundly during what is left of the night. It is history of mankind, told sometimes in meters, told sometimes in meters, pentameters, rhythm, and rhyme. Writing is recalling with smiles our joys, our moments of laughter, of love with family and friends. It is harmonizing with sacred beings, interconnected as one. Writing is releasing our pains, our hurts, our disillusionments, our betrayals, our fears, our angers into an emotional garbage can, cleansing our hearts, our minds, our chakras, walking in the path of light. Writing is healing sentiments, causing havoc in our lives, subjecting us to stagnation, which won't let us grow. Writing connects us with our spirit, our soul, with all that is sacred, beautiful, and liberating. It is freedom. It is letting go. Be careful, though. Writing can have a double sword.
This is what this is about. It's all about the poetry. And in fact, let me say that I've been so enthralled since the moment that I didn't remember to ask you guys to silence your cell phones. So if you have them and they could go off, we're almost there. But I would like to make sure that they don't go off. Yay! Thank you. Okay, next up, I would like to invite up. We had quite a committee assembled to make this happen. The Ventura County Arts Council and the Ventura County Poetry Project, who have their finger on the pulse of poetry in the county, is how this happened. It was a collaborative spirit and a collaborative experience, and it was amazing. I have an incredible committee that were part of that. The next person I'm asking to come up is one of the future of our poetry in the county, yes. And this person also organized Ventura County Poetry Festival last year, and we're having another one this year that's going to be amazing, yes. So let me, without further ado, welcome Sean Coletti. Sean.
First thing I wanted to say is it's been an absolute privilege to have served on this committee. Some of the efforts that have gone into it, many of you will have seen, but a lot of the efforts you won't have seen and been familiar with, and a lot of work went into this, and I don't want to presume, so I'll just assume that I speak for the rest of the committee in wanting to acknowledge and thank our chair, Friday. She'll pay me back for that one. And I'll be ready. Mary Ann's entering her laureateship with an eye towards the theme of hope. And, of course, this is something that all of us can use. There are plenty of things that I'm hopeful for, but actually the success of Mary Ann's laureateship over the next 2 years isn't really one of them, because after getting to know her through her work and in conversation, I could not be more confident with where Ventura County poetry is and where she's going to take it in the next couple of years. One of the things that came out in some of our conversations was a focus on craft, and this is something that very much rings true for me. Mary Ann is an incredibly hardworking poet and honors the art form in every way. Meticulous editing that goes into it, it's very obvious, and then if you're able to speak with her about it, you get a bit more of it. So I have a piece here that's sort of a snapshot of some of the work that goes into poetry sometimes. It takes as its epigraph the final lines, actually, from the final poem in Mary Ann's second collection, Devil Deer. This is the epigraph. I miss my father late at night and think of my old companions, how everything they taught was true and bright, and of how we are still on earth together, still wide awake. Late at night, long after the dogs have taken the humans for their evening walks, the work begins. Not the rebuilding of a carburetor or the mending of ripped fabrics or the ongoing shuffling of storage boxes from one inconvenient place to another, but the real work of ending a poem. The poet sits with pen and paper, a glass of wine at the ready in case things go poorly, another glass of wine at the ready in case they go well. A chorus of poets sits behind, interjecting over her shoulder. Miss Dickinson says to end it on a dash and waltzes up the stairs humming Tchaikovsky before anyone can ask why. Mr. Hopkins suggests an exclamation, because isn't this world and everything in it so exciting and beautiful? At this, Mr. Bukowski scoffs and drinks both of the glasses of wine. But the poet hasn't heard a word. She handles punctuation marks like a surgeon holding them up to the light before deciding her ending. A line break, because the work will continue tomorrow, late at night, when the poet and the chorus and the glasses of wine will be there again, still wide awake, still on earth, always together. And it is an absolute honor to be able to read to you a letter written to Mary Ann from our California Poet Laureate, Lee Herrick. If you're not familiar with Lee Herrick's work, he's an absolutely incredible poet on the paper. He's maybe even more of an incredible poet in person and has been going up and down everywhere all over the States. So for him to take the time to do this is a huge gesture. I'm sitting in my recliner at home in Fresno, a little over 200 miles north of Ventura County. A few days ago, I watched an interview that Mary Ann McFadden gave with David Starkey on Creative Community 2.0 and was delighted and inspired by her reading. She read Goodbye, Disco Saturday Night, and Letter from Paradise from her book Devil Deer, and I wanted to listen to her read all day. She writes in Letter to Paradise, I want you to know that I found happiness when the tides had tipped from one end of the beach and left the sand in a crescent cliff exactly like the moon, Mother. She writes and reads with an ocean-sized heart. Marcia de la O's elation at her appointment is understandable. Here is a poet in tune with the people and world around her. Simi Valley, New York City, Mazatlan, San Miguel de Allende, Fillmore, Ventura County. Here is where you have been called to serve. A laureateship is a gift, a call to give. I know Ventura County fairly well. I visit several times a year and have family here. Some are fellow citrus farmers like in your family, Mary Ann, and it feels like a perfect selection. I'm so happy for the poets and poetry community there and for everyone in Ventura County who will undoubtedly benefit from and be inspired by your laureateship. I'm so happy for you, Mary Ann. What a treasure you are. I hope you will keep writing those stellar poems, and I hope that you will keep finding joy and new happiness in your new position. I send all my good energies, my utmost admiration, and from one laureate to another, if I may, much love. Congratulations, Lee Herrick.
Wow, yeah, that's big. So now is a good time to stand up, right? Now is a good time to kind of just stand up. Yeah, absolutely, everyone. Just a little, if you can and if you'd like, please stand up, get your blood moving a little bit. We're way beyond halfway. We are really almost done. But there's more poetry to come and more excitement. So take a breath and then sit your butt back down. We really are almost there. I want to bring up another committee member who is another future poet, future Ventura County, hopefully one day laureate, another incredible poet. Her name is B.D. Salvas. B.D., please come up.
Friday, you flatter me desperately. Please don't stop. But as much as she calls me the future, I feel like just a cog currently, and Mary Ann is the future for Ventura County. It's really amazing how, I'd say, her work shows that life is constructed by the landscape around us, and I feel that her writing asks us to dig into the soil and really see how much of it makes us up. Upon meeting her, she spoke of hope and the way she spoke was dynamic and really gave a vision for who we are going to become as a poetic community. And I'm grateful to see how that shapes and how I can help. I'm going to read a piece that speaks of change, because after hope comes change, and I hope that we can help in that. So this is Things I Know About Pillows. 1, they speak to me as concerto in D minor, impatient and hungry, blasphemous yet comforting, soft body meeting soft body. I breathe back clanky discord with the idea of rest. 2, they are passageway and barrier, helping moments from the past steal into the future, but stop me from staying there. Instead, beckon me to be new. 3, there was a year where I dreamt of nothing but meat that left me praying for the flesh of fruit, only to receive rue and ivories, and every good boy does fine but 4. I've never washed my soul. 5, they say the average lifespan of a cell is 7 years, and it takes 5 years to know someone completely. So I must be changing. The world around me must be changing faster. 6, when my pillow has found the new me, it will creak resistance, but always invite me back in. Thank you. Marianne, we're so excited to have you.
Thank you, BD. Okay, well, where we are now is at a little more thanks. Miss Peg Quinn, will you just stand up for a moment? And Peg Quinn. This is Peg Quinn. She is a Santa Barbara poet. She spends some time here in Ventura. Sharing in our poetry community is one of us. And there are several Santa Barbara poets that we would consider part of us. They're here as well. But Peg is an incredible artist as well as a literary artist. She created the logo for the Ventura County Poetry Project, The Shape of Our County. That's all sewn by hand. It's a beautiful piece. In addition to that, Miss Peg Quinn has always made the laurels for the heads of our poets laureate, and she did again this time. So we are at the point in this exciting afternoon where we are going to invite the full committee up to the stage area, and we're going to also invite up Marianne. This is where we are going to be placing the laurel. If you wouldn't mind, full committee, Peg, Marianne, coming up to the stage. Please. Sean, maybe. I'm going to have you step like a seat. Yeah. There you go. And stable.
Thank you very much. Wow. I don't think I've ever been praised so much in my life. I did quite a bit of thinking about what I wanted to say, but I have to say everyone has pretty much said it about poetry and what it can do. You know, language is the repository of culture. We had to imagine ourselves from the very beginning. And we did it in language. That's what carries us from one generation to the next. Poetry can encourage, it can comfort, it calms us, it gives us peace. It teaches us to remember our experience of beauty or of grief. It teaches us to remember the movements of animals and trees and great storms, and to notice the long, pale tongues of hummingbirds. Those are just a few of the things. I think poetry, part of the reason it's so powerful is because it's so subtle. People don't know that they're being changed by it. Communities, nations even. And just as an example, I want to read this poem that a friend of mine, not a really good friend, I don't know her well, but Judith Hill, like we all did when the Twin Towers were being attacked, she sat and watched it all day. And then the next day, she wrote this poem. It's called Wage Peace. Wage peace with your breath. Breathe in firemen and rubble. Breathe out whole buildings and flocks of red-winged blackbirds. Breathe in terrorists and breathe out sleeping children and freshly mown fields. Breathe in confusion and breathe out maple trees. Breathe in the fallen and breathe out lifelong friendships intact. Wage peace with your listening. Hearing sirens, pray loud. Remember your tools, flower seeds, clothespins, clean rivers. Make soup. Play music. Memorize the words for thank you in 3 languages. Learn to knit and make a hat. Imagine grief as the outbreath of beauty or the gesture of a fish. Swim for the other side. Wage peace. Never has the world seemed so fresh and precious. Have a cup of tea and rejoice. Act as if armistice has already arrived. Celebrate today. And that poem went around the world. People have read it all over the world. And you can even see it on the internet with other people's names on it. But she doesn't care. I'm going to read two short poems that are from the new manuscript, and the first one, somebody talked very early in this program about how poetry can teach you to really see clearly and carefully. And I took a tracking course, and we went out to Zizek's and spent 3 days there. And the first day they said, make a great big smooth square and make footprints and handprints in it. And then each night we would go back and study our footprints and handprints to try to see if we could see the difference between when somebody walked by on the one day or 3 days ago. And we also made I forget what they call them, but we smoothed off the dirt at a place where we thought there might be animals going by, and then tried to come the next morning and see if we could see the difference between a field mouse and a vole, for example. And so I never became a very good tracker, but I got this poem out of it. Just before sunrise it begins. The infant cottontail slips from the doe's birth opening and burrows into the fur-lined nest. It is the quietest speech, this blurt of steaming, fragrant skin, alert to the cold. Eyes shut tight, nostrils open as her mother comes close to let her nurse. A world floods her brain. Smoke on the mountain, wiggling baby animals within the hill. Chilled air seeps into the dens. Gases rise in plumes above burdock, clover, stinkweed, thistle. Unaccountable, the new year. Fresh tracks on the sand. Badger, with his pigeon-toed diagonal gait, crossed the alluvial slope, stopped, sniffed, veered around clumps of mesquite and creosote. You don't have to. And then this is a poem I wrote after the Thomas Fire. And it's one of those poems that I wanted it to do much more than it does, but I still think that it expresses a couple of things, and so I wanted to read it. It's called That Old Grandeur of the Heart. We roll on into the year, miss the potholes, pay the rent. North of here, a single blackened house stands on the hill. One family who lost everything they owned, shelters in a cheap hotel. The children, phoneless, sit with their parents to talk. One asks, what can we do to help? In a way, their mom says, we've never been happier. Among earthquakes, hurricanes, or in the heat that's begun to swell the oceans and overcome the coastlines, some of us will have a chance. Among plagues, at the hills of dead geese, among the starved, the ungenerous, there will be those who share, who teach. Poetry will not die. 1,000 years from now, we will parse our myth, that we drummed among the scrub, that new forms intrigued us, that we held to our botched migrations. With our cracked hands, we sought the moist, fragrant places. in our cloud beds, our pods, our vast glassine cities. We will rock ourselves. We will still find one another. Thank you, everyone, so much. I'm not going to name you all, but thank you. I feel well launched. Thank you.
Thank you all so much. Thank you, Marianne. It is now time for our reception. Food is being brought out while we sit. The table in the back is being changed out and has. There are art books and poetry books by several folks that are up here and in the room with you. Make sure you mingle, say hello to people. We're all good people. Thank you so much for being here. I appreciate you. Enjoy.